Hello there. Well, learning or using Microsoft Excel has never been easier. And in today's tutorials, I teach you 7 basic yet simple tips and tricks to help the use of Microsoft Excel a bit simpler and easier for you. And if you are looking forward to becoming efficient and effective in the use of it, kindly stick with me to the end. So, let's go ahead, shall we? Well, the first basic tip or trick I would like to share with you today in Microsoft Excel is you can always use the tab key to make all of your data entries without having to depend on the arrow keys on your keyboard or the enter key. So in the case that you have a list of students in which you have to input their names, their subject and their score and their serial number, all you need to do with their headings already noted down, all you need to do is to select the entire rows and columns in which you like the data to be. Then by simply starting, so the serial number for the first student is 1. Then instead of using the arrow key, you can simply use the tab key, then type in the name, so Akwesi, then you use the arrow key again. So let's say we are talking about the subject maths, then his score was 95. Obviously, Akwesi is brilliant. And over here, rather than using the arrow key or the enter key to move down, all you need to do is to simply hit the tab key again, then you can continue with your data entry. So that's just one way of using the tab key to always make data entries without having to depend on the others. And the second way to always make your data entry a bit simpler for you in Microsoft Excel is to always also depend on what the form tool. So to do that, let me go to the quick access toolbar, go to more commands. Then from this, I will simply come to popular commands and change it to all commands. Then as you can see, it's loading. It will simply change to all commands. Then I'll scroll down and look for forms. So I'll simply look for forms. Where is forms? Forms. As you can see, this form, I'll click on it, then add it and click on OK. As you can see, it has appeared over here in my quick access toolbar or on my quick access toolbar. So I'll simply click on it. Then over here, any entries you like to make, all you need to do is to simply type in the serial number. So 1, and I would like to change the name to, let's say, Messi. I'll press the tab key again. And let's say the subject we are talking about is English. I'll press the tab and let's say he had 86. And over here, you can simply, to continue to the very next row, to continue with your entry, you simply press enter. Then you make the necessary changes. So the next student will be, let's say, Ronaldo. So you press the tab key again. And let's say, sorry, Ronaldo. And press the tab key again. And let's say the subject you are talking about is, let's say, mathematics or maths. Simply press the tab. And let's say he had 86 also. And you simply press enter to continue with your entries. So this is the first basic tip or trick I would like to share with you in Microsoft Excel. And as soon as you are done, you can always click on the close to finish up or to wrap up with your entry. And the second tip or trick, or the second basic tip or trick in Microsoft Excel I would like to share with you today is, in the case that you are making, let's say, an entry of numbers to allocate it or to assign it to a list of commodities or products or names, rather than always using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And obviously, if the list isn't very long, you can always depend on this way of making the entries to allocate it to your commodities or brands or names or whatever. But in the case that you are making an entry of, let's say, a list of 1,000 people or 1,000 commodities, and you have to assign these numbers, you can obviously do it throughout 1, 2, 3 until the very end. So over here, you can always depend on what we call the fill series. And what the fill series does is, let's say you want to make a list of 100 students. So all you need to do is to first type in 100, type in 1, then moving over here, still under the home tab, you simply come to the editing group, and under editing group you can see fill. So you simply click on the drop down button, and over here it is what saying, as you can see down right, what we want is what the series. So we simply click on the series, and it is asking, so over here, do you want your number formatting or your number format in a row form or in a column form? So it's in a column form. We want it to go up to the down, so it's in a column form, and a linear format. So it is asking the step value. So 1 And where do we want to stop? So over here, we want to stop at 100. So we simply type in 100 and click on OK. So as you can see, our numbering has been done through to what? To 100. So if in the case you want to go through to 1000, you can always do that. And note, you can always do that also when you are making dates. So let's say you type in a date of, let's say, uh, February 3rd, 2025, right? And you would like for your date to end at, let's say, 14th February. And obviously, you can always use the autofill to drag it down to continue with your data entry. But over here also, what if your data entry is too long for you to simply be dragging it down? You can always also, as usual, depend on the flash fill. So you go to the fill, then you click on the series. Then over here, as usual, rows and column also, as you can see, it has picked up that what you are talking about, the date. So the step value 1. Then where do you want to stop? So over here, you can always use, maybe let's say we want to stop at 6th May 22nd May, or 22nd June, sorry, let's say 2025. Then you simply click on OK. As you can see, it continues on and on until what? 22nd June. So this is a way you can always use the fill series in your data entry. Making entries in Excel isn't easy, so you always have to find easier ways of doing that. So that's just it with the fill series. So the third basic tip or trick I would like to share with you in Microsoft Excel today also will be what we call the row function. So let's say in your entries, you are making these entries 1, 2, 3 through to 10. So let's do that through to 10. And you allocate or assign, let's say, names to it. So let's assign, let's say, some names to it, right? Let's just assign these names to it. And let's say mistakenly, or you would like to delete one name out of it. So let's say we delete this out of it. So control minus to delete it. But as you can see, as you can see, the numbering isn't continuous. Now there is a break because one number has been taken out. But with the row function, let's use the row function. So in Excel, as usual, you use the equal sign to always begin a function or a formula. So the row function, and you press the tab, then over here we'll simply close it. Then we'll introduce the minus sign because this is the first row, we are in the second row, so we'll need to take out one row out of it, so we'll bring in the minus sign. Then we'll simply press enter. So as you can see, 1. And if you have to drag it down, as you can see now, it goes through to 11. So let's now also assign some names over here also. Let me show you the essence of a row function. So with the row function, hello, oops, sorry. So with the row function, let me get through. So with the row function, in the case that a column, sorry, or the row is deleted, so let's say we delete this row. So let's say the number 7, we delete it, so control minus, we take it out. As you can see, the numbering becomes continuous, even though we have taken one row out of it. So that's also one way of making entries simpler for you, so that in the case that you have a lot of entries and you want to take out certain things from your data but want your numberings to be continuous, you can always depend on the row function so that you don't need to go back down and be making the entries manually, which will at least make your work a bit difficult for you. So that's just it also, by the way. To continue, did you know you can always make calculations or basic calculations in Excel without having to use any formula or functions? Well, let me show you how. So let's say you want to make a quick calculations. Maybe you have to find the sum, the average, the count, the minimum and maximum of certain values. So let's give ourselves some values. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 23. So let's say we want to sum all this up and we don't want to use a function. Obviously, there is a shortcut of the function, but we want to see the sum, the average, the count, the minimum and maximum without having to do or input any function or formula. All we need to do is to select this entire data we want to do that math for. And if you have to move down to this bar over here, as you can see, you can find the average, the count, and the sum. But here is the case, we want to find also the minimum and the maximum. How do we get it? So all we need to do is to right click on this bar over here. And as you can see, if you have to go through this list that appears, you can find the minimum and the maximum. So all we need to do is to check it and check the maximum also and click over here. And as you can see, the minimum and the maximum appears over here also. So we have the average, the count of the numbers, the minimum of the numbers, the maximum, and the sum. So easy, right? So we didn't need to input any function or any formula to find the totals or the averages of these very numbers. Kudos to Excel. Smart thinking. This smart. So to continue, the fifth basic tip or trick I would like to also share with you over here in Microsoft Excel is, in the case that you have to separate this text from one another, obviously since there are a few, you can always do them manually without having to stress yourself. But what if you are dealing with thousands of data which are in this format? Obviously, you can't be doing them one by one. That would make your boss think you're a bit slow and not efficient. But we don't want our boss going around thinking that, oh, we are graduates and we can't do these basic things. So over here, obviously there is a function for it, but over here, we can always use what we call the text to column what function. So to do that, let's select our cell in which this data is found, and moving to the data tab, we go to the data tab. And if you are to move to the data tools, you can find what text to columns. So let's simply click on it. Then over here, as you can see, it convert text to column what wizard. So it's saying choose the file type that best describes your data. So it is trying to ask us what is separating our data. So our data, as you can obviously see, it is delimited, and it is delimited. So as you can see, it appears over here. So simply click on what delimited, and it's what characters such as commas or tabs separate what each field. And now let's click on next. So now it is asking what over here, it is asking which or what type of delimiter is separating what our data. It is not other, neither is it tab, it is what a comma. So as you can see, as soon as you do that, your data will be separated for you. So let's click on next. Then let's simply click on finish. So as you can see, your data will now be separated for you in the column format. So in the case you want to convert it to rows also, you can always use the transpose function to do that. And over here also, if you are to carefully look at our data, it is not in the comma, it is not separated by a comma but a hyphen. So over here also, we can always use the text to column also. So let's simply click on the text to column again. Obviously, it is delimited. Let's click on next. And over here is tab, semicolon, comma, space, but you can't find this form of what? You can't find this format or this form of data separation over here. So over here, all we need to do is to simply click on the other, then you specify over here. So what is separating our text is what the hyphen. So as you can see, as soon as you do that, your text has now been separated. You click on next, then simply click on finish. And as you can see, your data has been separated for you. So starting with Excel, always working out or using functions was a bit hectic for me because you don't know the function you want, and if even you know how to go about it was always an issue because you don't know what is what and which is which. So let's say we have this data and we want to separate it. Obviously we can use the text to column, but we want to use a function, and the function we want to use is what? The text split function. So all I need to do is to come over here. So this is where I want my data to appear. So I'll bring in the equal sign. So let me bring in the equal sign and introduce the text split function. So text split. So I'll simply go down. Press the tab key. And over here with the text split, to know what or to know whether I'm actually doing it right by using this function, I'll simply click on this insert function over here. And as you can see, it gives me what is required of me to input to enable me get what the results what I want. So now the first text is what? Split text into rows or columns using what? Delimiters. So now it is asking for what? The text. So over here What do I want to separate? So what I want is this one. So I'll simply select this one. Then as you can see, it appears over here. So this is the text I want separated. Then it is asking for my what? The column delimiter. So characters or string to split what? Columns by. So over here, I just will bring in the what? The So over here, I'll bring in the what? The apostrophe as usual when beginning anything in Excel, you begin with what? The apostrophe. And I'll bring in the what? The comma sign. Then I'll simply what? Close it again. Then as you can see, my data appears over here now. And it is asking for what? My row delimiter. So over here, what character or string to what? Split rows by. So I will simply bring in the column or the comma again, then I'll bring it over here. So as you can see now, if you have to carefully look over here, the formula result, you can see rows. So anytime you get a formula result, it means you are on the right track. So let me see, let's click on OK. Over here, ignore empty. You can always bring something, but over here, it's something you can always what ignore. So let's simply click on OK. And as you can see, your what your data has now been separated in the format in which what you wanted. So anytime you are a bit lost with a formula or function you are using, you can always use this insert function. As soon as you type in the function you are using, you can always use this insert function to guide you as to how to go about using that particular function. And finally, the last basic tip or trick I would like to share with you is fitting your column automatically without having to adjust it manually. So let's say you are making your data entry. So and let's type in a very long name. So let's say Ricardo, right? Ricardo Kaka, Ricardo Ezekson, right? Ricardo Ezekson dos Santos. I hope I'm right, Lete. So that's the name of Kaka. So imagine this long name. As you can see, you can obviously fit it by simply coming to the cell or the column in which the very text it, and in between or where it intersects with the next cell, you can always, or the next column, you can always double click on it. As you can see, it automatically what fits up. Or what if you have a lot of data that spreads across your entire worksheet? Obviously, doing it one by one will take a lot of time also. So let me show you just a simple trick. So with your sheet selected, you can simply right click on your sheet tab. Then from this pop-up menu that appears, you go to view code. And over here with this dialog that appears, the general, you can simply click on this drop down button, sorry, and click on worksheet. So this will appear for you. Then let's simply type in cells, right, dot entire cells dot entire column, press the tab key, dot what? Auto fit. So let's simply press auto fit and press enter. Then let us close it. So if you are to now type in any word, so let's simply type in any word. So as you can see, your cell or your column automatically adjusts to fit into the to fit the text into the cell. So let's say I'm to type the boy is going to school into this, is going to school, even though he's not, and press enter. As you can see, it automatically fits into the column. So this is what the function or the auto fit formula does for your Excel worksheet. Obviously, you can always use it in the case that you don't want to be formatting or in the case that you don't want to be adjusting your rows or columns as you go. You can always do same for your rows also. So let's test the last one. Then let's sign out. So let's say I am signing out. So peace. Press enter. So you can see it works like magic. So, so that's just about it for the tips and tricks in Microsoft Excel. I hope it has been helpful. And in case you enjoyed this very particular video, always be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and share to help this channel grow. Thank you very much and peace out.